Hello. We continue our odyssey into figuring out what's going on with the Beyerdynamic 1770 Pro. Why they're acting the way they're acting, why they sound the way they sound, and why it appears to me at this point that they are not true reference headphones despite Beyerdynamic's marketing, despite some other reviewers' commentary. The point of my channel is really to give you the whole process of figuring out whether a pair of headphones really is what some people say it is, especially what the manufacturer says it is. I was taking a walk today and I realized, there are a few questions that I should probably just address now. Number one, is it possible that my pair of headphones of 1770s are the driver's damaged, or is the headphone damaged in some way, explaining why I'm hearing things the way I'm hearing them? I don't think that my headphones are damaged. I've heard many headphones. I have many headphones. I've had the opportunity to listen to some very, very expensive headphones worth several $1,000s. I've had the opportunity to listen to them on various amplifiers of various sorts from various manufacturers. And I think I can tell when a headphones driver is faulty. I don't think that the DT1770 that I have has a faulty driver, either left or right. I think what I'm hearing is legitimately the way that Beyerdynamic designed these headphones. If you don't believe me, and if you want to believe everybody else, or if you have a pair of the 1770s and you're not hearing the things I'm hearing, okay, then you can believe that my pair is bad, it's faulty. With my experience with these, I don't think the drivers are faulty. So that's number one. Number two, should I change from the velour pads to the pleather pads? Well, in my unboxing, I mentioned that when I changed to the pleather pad, it was slightly elevated bass and less airy. So by airy, I mean there's less volume to the sound. I mean, it's really hard to explain in words unless you sit there and listen to it. The sound with the velour pads is a little bit more open. I mean, I can tell the difference between it when I immediately switch from the pleather to the velour and vice versa. But is it going to change the sound significantly enough for me to say, all of a sudden, putting on the pleather pads on the 1770s now makes these headphones compete with the bass of the 9500, which I compared yesterday? The answer is no. Because the 9500 are fully open back headphone. And if a fully open back headphone has a better bass reproduction than a fully closed back headphone like the 1770, then no amount of pad changing is going to change that. If the difference is significant, and in that case, in yesterday's video, it was significant. That's what I was hearing. So I don't think changing the pads is going to change anything. That being said, let's move on. Today, I want to compare the 1770 Pros with a cheaper pair of so-called reference class headphones. The Monoprice Monolith M1060c, the closed back version. This, yes, totally different driver technology. This is planar magnetic. Some people may say that this has been directly stolen from Odyssey. Great. I don't care. All right. I don't care where it was obtained, how it was obtained. I don't care. They're selling it. I bought it, and I want to compare this headphone with the 1770. The test parameters are still the same as yesterday. Again, this is a very short test. We're going to do Superposition by Young the Giant. This is a downloaded playlist, Spotify. I am using my JDS Labs Element DAC amp. We have already established numerous times that the 1770 requires some power. So with the 1770, I start at noon on the amp. Then I make my way gradually up to 3 o'clock on the amp and back and forth so I can figure out what the details are, if there are any details to pick up. I don't quite remember how much power the Monoprice M1060s need, so I'm just going to have to go with the flow as of right now. As far as build quality is concerned, You know, I love the Monoprice M1060s. I love the M1060Cs. The only problem I have is with the ear cups, which, you know, tend to swivel 360 degrees and then some. So that's my biggest concern. Regardless, let's go to the sound. I have the M1060s on. The sound isolation on the M1060 is probably less than the M1060Cs. So we're just talking about the close back. On the Monoprice, it's less sound isolation than with the Beyerdynamic. And there's also slightly less clamping force. Although the M1060Cs have much thicker pads, much more comfortable pads, and these are leather or pleather pads, very plush pads. All right, so I'm going to start at 9 o'clock, and let's just play it. I don't hear as much muffled sound as I did in the 9500. Substantially less muffling going on. Actually, the string instruments are coming in very clear. The vocal is clear. No sibilants, no peaking in the higher frequency. Very mellow sound on the vocal. Very pleasing. At this point, all the instruments, the vocals are combined. And I don't feel as if any particular element in the song overpowers any other element. I'm taking it up to 12 o'clock. And there is soundstage. I can tell left and right, even with all the instruments playing. The vocal, I have to emphasize, is very, very good. Very smooth, no graininess, even at the higher volume. And all the instruments are going to come in now. So the bass reproduction on these is also, I think, less impactful than it was on the 9500, but it's meatier on the M1060Cs than it, I believe that it will be on the 1770s, but we'll see. So there are 2 or 3 vocalists, and I can actually hear the difference in their pitch of their voice. So I can actually hear that there's more than one vocalist. I couldn't hear that in the 9500, and if I recall correctly, I didn't hear that in the 1770. So the last 20 seconds of the song, I'm going to ramp it up to about 1 o'clock. It's almost at its max volume that I would want to hear these headphones. The higher the volume, I don't get any more distortion. So even though I'm taking it up on the volume, I'm not getting more distortion as I do that. Clarity-wise, it's certainly clearer than the 9500. There still seems to be a little bit of veiling in the whole spectrum, the entire frequency range, it's definitely a lot less than it was on the 9500. So I feel as if the M1060Cs deliver a substantially better clarity than the 9500. So now I'm going to switch to the 1770s and see if there's a difference. Okay, so now with the 1770s on, the sound isolation is a little bit better. It's not, okay, so here's the thing. It's not like I'm hearing less of the outside noise with the 1770s than I was with the M1060. It's just that it feels more closed off because of the clamping force. And I'm tapping on the ear cups of the on the 1770s. It's good. I mean, good sound isolation, passive sound isolation. Okay, let's start again. I'm going to start at noon, and here we go. I feel that the guitar, the string instruments are clearer on the 1770 than it was on the M1060. Oh. Two things. The vocal on the 1770 is not as smooth as on the M1060. It's not grainy. It just doesn't come off as smoothly as it does with the M1060. So there's more peaking in the higher frequency on the 1770 than there is on the M1060. And that's what makes me feel as if the M1060 have a smoother vocal. And that's consistent with what I've been finding with all these sound tests with the 1770, which is where the 1770 just barely keeps the higher frequencies below the sibilance threshold, below the ear-piercing threshold. It's at 1 o'clock now. The bass, I would say that the bass is about the same as with the M1060. Pretty even. Okay, so this is the point where all the vocals are in. And I can't tell that there are multiple singers. Now, yeah, it just sounds like one voice. On the M1060, when all the vocalists were singing at the same time, I mean actual words, not la la la, whatever they do right afterwards, but when they were singing at the same time, I could tell that there was more than one vocalist. But with the 1770, it all just sounds like one. Until they get into the whole la 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 thing. So one vocalist's voice trumps any other that's in this part where he's singing. And I with the M1060, I can hear there's more than one vocalist. There may be two, there may be three, but there's definitely more than one. I can hear the separation. It's slight, but it's there. All right, so I think the results from yesterday are the same as today, and vice versa. Today's results are the same as yesterday. The 1770 is clearer than the M1060. Same as if it was clearer with the 9500. The M1060's base response seems to be about par with the M1060C's. I don't think that there is any noticeable difference, at least not to my ears. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the song again, and I'm going to play the first 30 seconds, and I'm going to crank it up to the max volume, and I'm going to listen for the bass, the drums, and I want to be able to pinpoint whether there is an actual difference or not, whether it's the same or it's better or if it's worse in the one or the other. I'm going to keep the 1770s on my head. I'm going to start with the 1770s, first 30 seconds when the drums come in, and I'm going to just start at 2 o'clock and then ramp the amp up to 3 o'clock. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. So close to ear piercing, but not. Just close. Okay, now I'm switching to the Monoprice M1060c. And with this, I'm going to start at 1 o'clock. All right, it's on my head. Starting again, first 30 seconds. Here we go. I'm not saying anything. Not until this is over. Okay. I don't need to hear anymore. Okay. Not for this test. I don't need to hear anymore. The M1060C has the same bass response as the 1770. I don't hear any noticeable difference. Now, is the bass response different from the M1060 versus the 9500? You know, I happen to have the 9500 right here. I was watching a movie with them. So that's plugged in on my head, starting again, and I'm going to start it at noon. Here we go. Yeah. More muffled, as it was yesterday, but much more fun. Because, you know, it's a loose bass response, which makes the ear cups vibrate a little bit. So it gives it more substance, or sense of substance. Yeah. We've established that 9500s are not accurate. We said that yesterday. The bass on them is still more enjoyable just for fun. Movies. Fun music. Fine. M1060C's bass is as good as with the 1770. 1770s are a little bit clearer, a little bit clearer than the M1060. How much clearer? Well, if I were to just give you a random number, a random percentage, I would say 5% clearer. 5 to 10% clearer. Okay? 5 to 10% clearer. Random number. I have no way of scientifically proving that to you other than my A and B comparison right now. That's all I can do. Is it clearer? Yes, it is clearer. Is it $600 clearer? No. Well, I guess $300 clearer, because the M1060s go for $300 brand new if you buy them from Monoprice. You can get them brand new for less than $300. I think you can get them for about $250. to maybe $280. If you shop around, you'll be able to find it for $250. But let us say $300 difference. Is there a $300 difference? No. There is no $300 difference between the M1060 and the 1770. Yeah, you get a little bit more clarity out of the 1770, and if that's what you're looking for, is that you want as much clarity as possible, that's great. Get as much clarity as possible. Then get the 1770. But if you want more than just clarity, you want to be able to hear the soundstage, you want to hear the separation of vocalists and instruments, then the 1770s just don't seem to deliver that. You know what? I'm going to do one more thing. I said that I was going to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to put the M1060 back on my head. I'm going to start the song around 2 minutes where the vocalists are all singing. Because I said I heard more than one vocalist. So let's see. Okay, I'm going to start about 1 minute 54 seconds. It's at 1 o'clock. The amp is. Here we go. Yeah. Absolutely. There's at least 2 vocalists. There's one vocalist who is more forward than another vocalist who is a little bit further back. That is what we call soundstage. M1060s have it. The M1060s actually have soundstage versus the 1770. I've been saying this, and I've said it over and over again. The 1770s, when there's more than just a handful of instruments, a handful of elements in a song, simply flatten everything out. You lose the soundstage. You lose the depth of the song. I knew there was another singer involved in this song. The M1060s prove it. I hear it. One is closer than the other. One has a different pitch than the other. Now, I had to crank it up to 1 o'clock to hear it, and it wasn't quite maximum volume on the M1060, but I heard it. It was there, and even at lower volume, I could tell that there was something there. With the 1770s, no matter how loud I got them, it was still flat. You know what? I'll do it again. I'll do it with the 1770. Going back to 1 minute 54 seconds, just to be fair. And I'm going to start at about 1 o'clock. Okay, here we go. Three o'clock. Yep, all flat. It's flattened. It sounds fine. Again, the vocals are not a problem. It's just that there's no soundstage. What's the point? What's the point of being a reference headphone if you can't get the soundstage? Ugh. All right, so that's another one. Okay, so between the 9500 and the 1770, clearly the 1771 if you wanted to talk about reference. But between the M1060 and the 1770, that's a much closer call. And in my opinion, I think the 1770 do not give you bang for your buck. I think the M1060, which you can get at half price brand new, give you bang for your buck. At least if you're talking about reference. Yeah, okay, you're right. Very different driver technology. I understand this. I get it. But if you are so adamant on getting a Tesla driver, then you're going to have to go with Beyerdynamic. But if you're actually looking for a reference class headphone that will give you what you want and what you need in whatever scenario you're going to try to use these headphones, then it shouldn't matter. It simply should not matter. You should pick the device, the tool that actually helps you complete your task. Who cares whether it's Beyerdynamic, Monolith, Odyssey? It shouldn't matter. As of this test, the 1770s do not win. I do not believe that they win. I think the M1060s edge it out just a little, and that's enough. Just a little. $300 difference, I think that's enough. Okay, maybe this has been help. Hopefully it's been of help. If it hasn't, let me know how it could have been of help, and I'll see if I could do that. Otherwise, I will see you, talk to you, not see you, I'm not seeing you. We're not seeing each other. I will upload another video probably tomorrow. Have a good night.